welcome to Pepperdine Esports in the Collegiate StarLeague League of Legends season. We are going against the University of Wyoming today, and I am your caster, Grace. RamseyIsMey. Ramsey, along with this direction. Sorry, it's Zoom, so it's mirrored.
Kyle, Coddiwomple, Griffith. How are you today, Grace?
Good, how are you? And oh, I forgot to mention this before, but we can do it live. If you want to change your name in Zoom.
We can do it live!
Yeah, do it live! So people can know where to find you, or your Twitter handle, or what have you. There we go. So exciting game today. You were just telling me about the op.gg you were looking at, so why don't you tell our lovely viewers a bit about what they can expect from the games today?
Yeah. So the University of Wyoming has an unprecedented priority on Jhin. Both their mid laner and their bot laner have super high win rates and lots of playtime on Jhin. So I'm heavily expecting a Jhin ban. Now, for the audience's sake, we are doing a pro draft, so we will not see a live draft. We'll see, hopefully, the order in which it's happened, but the draft is happening outside of the league client. That being said, I think a Jhin ban 100% has to be the first ban for Pepperdine. Take both their mid laner and their bot laner off of Comfort. Secondly, ban out Pantheon. He's a lane stomp champion. That's a huge support pick for University of Wyoming support. Get that champion out of the bot lane. The way that a lower ranked team beats a higher ranked team is win lane, win game. And if you give them strong laning champions like Pantheon, where they can take over a lane, you're going to have some problems. Even if you're the better ranked team, if you pick for scaling and you get stomped early by a Pantheon, you're going to be in a bad way. So yeah, those are my high level takeaways from op.gg. Thank you for the non-sponsorship. And and
we're
that's
gonna
what I would
start
expect
sipping on like beverages, but we're like covering the label. It's just,
right.
you know.
Don't look.
Don't look. Yeah, we're not that big a deal.
Actually, I'm a total traitor today because I have this University of Wyoming mug with my name on it from my father, who's an alum of the University of Wyoming. So apologies.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least we know we're going to get a little bit of, not bias, a little bit of mitigation on the bias there, maybe, because of your personal ties to the enemy.
Ow,
how dare you?
I'm so sorry. I can't help it. I grew up going to Pokes games as a kid. I've been in the stadium in negative 30-degree weather watching football games.
Well, chat, I'll be here for you. I'll root for Pepperdine till the bitter end. Oh my goodness.
Ramsey, you have to understand the real question that chat wants to know, and the important thing is, can I get Windchill and Evan Cake's names right this game?
Oh my
Is it possible? Will it happen?
Put your bets in the chat, folks. Whether or not it'll be, well, first of all, Evan Cakes is not in this game, so
doesn't mean I won't call Windchill Evan Chill. The question is it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? Put your bets in now, folks.
How many? Are you going to be a real adventurer and put like 0 times? No, I'm going to put my bet. My bet's going to be on 2. I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say it's going to be twice. It looks
Am
like
I allowed to bet, or is that too much collusion there?
I feel like it's a conflict of interest there, but we are going to head right on over into picks and bans. This has already happened in pro draft, so I expect that it'll be a fairly quick journey through picks and bans here today.
Pathetic.
Oh, a talent ban. Who's surprised?
Who is surprised? I think we've only seen one ban go through, or one time Talon's gone through here in the competitive season. And the Jhin ban does not go through in this first set of bans.
So then does Pepperdine insta-lock the Jhin, or do they have
We know Bobby Joe plays it and has favored it in the past, but no, it will be the Vladimir coming out first.
So I would expect a Jhin pickup here on the University of Wyoming. So
we'll see if that happens. And we know that'll be, sorry. We probably won't see it because they're going in correct order for pro draft, remember? We forgot.
Correct,
yeah.
Correct.
So we'll have to see whether or not it got locked in for Bobby Joe first, actually, on the side of Pepperdine, because we're seeing a Vladimir in the top lane. Vladimir into Volibear and Zach into Lee Sin.
Wow, this is a big old frontline tank comp from the University of Wyoming. I mean, that Volibear is going to jump on you, the Zach's going to jump on you, and you're going to have a hard time dealing with that frontline.
force the
Annie
Kiana into the Annie.
I can't say as I'm overly familiar with the Annie-Kiana lane matchup, but I'm curious to see how it plays out.
I'm certainly interested. We see the Yasuo ban come out from University of Wyoming. That's probably something that pushed Santa
Who
Maria
questions
on
my
that
ability?
I would imagine so. As far as team fight goes, thus far, I mean, I have to give the priority to University of Wyoming. Okay, I expect
So
that
the
Jin
Jin
pick
probably
was
was the
likely
first
pick.
lock-in for Pepperdine.
The team fight capability of University of Wyoming right now is just astronomical. Zach jumps in, Volibear jumps in, Tibbers dropped, and the Kate with her huge auto attack range is just sitting in the back line. Whereas on the side of Pepperdine, yes, the Leona can go in. Yes, the Kiana can try to get a flank and go in. The Lee Sin can go in, but Vladimir and Jin are not, you know, phenomenal early game team fighters when you've got a giant front line who's trying to jump on top of you. The Vlad wants to kite back away from a big front line, but he needs levels. And this early game team fighting comp is going to be so strong around objectives. So very much props to University of Wyoming. I like the draft. Now, can they execute on it? From the side, on the side of Pepperdine, you know, this is a lot of skill expression champions in the form of Kiana and Lee Sin. I mean, these are champions who want to be landing skill shots, who want to be diving into fights, backing out, using CC abilities to displace priority carries. So the question is going to be, can Winchill get it right? Can Winchill get onto the Caitlyn and move her and make her and displace her and find a way for the Kiana then to get in and assassinate her? Or will Pepperdine simply stomp lane, win game? We know that they are slightly higher in terms of collective elo. So, you know, will they just roll their lanes and steamroll the game? Or will, you know, you've got priority in the bot lane for the University of Wyoming. Caitlyn will shove in the Jin. If that Leona can't go in and dive on top of her, you know, Leona is a one-way champion. She doesn't disengage particularly well. She's not great on the back foot. Whereas Nautilus can play on the back foot or the front foot. He can disengage with his ult. He can slow people. You know, I have to say, early laning phase, especially in the bot lane, I give it to the University of Wyoming. I think the Watermelon God will have a hard time for the first 5 or 6 levels, as Vladimir often does, till he gets a couple points in that queue. He should be able to poke out the Volibear after level 9, and that shouldn't really be a contest. But if the Zac gets up there early and dives onto the Vladimir, and the Vladimir, you know, isn't ready for it or has burned his pool, he can get put very far behind very early.
Yeah, definitely. Smile chat. I'm putting you on socials. That's what I was doing while our lovely caster, Coddiwomple, was taking us through that dissection there. It'll definitely be an interesting match, to say the least. One of the more even matchups we've faced thus far in CSL. Our first 3 games, one of which was a no-show, but the other 2 were, you know, substantially different average elo between the 2 teams.
A little lopsided.
A little lopsided in favor of Pepperdine. So it'll be interesting to see how Pepperdine plays today when the playing field is a little bit more even. And we actually saw, you know, maybe ill tidings yesterday in the IMT University Showdown, where we went up against LMU, a school that we are actually a little bit favored in the same way that we're a little bit favored when it comes to the University of Wyoming. And to be honest, Coddy, our boys got slapped.
Yeah, they got stomped. They got pushed around a little bit.
It was not good. I don't know if maybe it's part of it is that the Watermelon God has not been in a starting lineup spot so far this season, so there's a little bit of adjustment there. But you also see from Pepperdine today not seeming to respect the elo of the University of Wyoming, because they're playing Liquid Core JJ in that support position rather than Dragon King Hots, who played yesterday. So maybe they're trying something out actually, and it's, you know, or maybe they're just trying to pull back and get into a slightly better position there. But, you know, I'm really, really hoping we don't see a performance like we saw yesterday from our boys today.
I would imagine that if there's a hangover or if there's some type of morale deficiency left over from yesterday, that we will see a substantial lineup change going to game 2 if we lose game 1. Hard to say definitively what the coach will do, but I would imagine there'll be a shakeup if game 1 isn't a stop.
Yeah.
Really trying to keep the mentality moving and changing forward and try to find a groove for the guys to play in.
Definitely. And I know that we are now loading into the game now. We won't transition right over till we're ready to get into the game itself. But, you know, we're going to have to see. I haven't seen the Watermelon Gods, Vladimir, in competitive play at all. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out from that player here today. He had a pretty good start yesterday on Aatrox, but then fell behind to the Urgot of LMU. So I don't know how this matchup really goes top lane if you want to dissect that a little bit, Coddy, but it'll be interesting because Vladimir really needs to just kind of survive until his later game power spikes.
And the power of Volibear in lane is he's such a bully early. I mean, he drops his storm on you, and if you don't get out of the way, you're taking huge chunks of magic damage. So I'm really going to be looking for Halo Shadow, the top laner from University of Wyoming, to be punishing this Vladimir pick early, really getting in his face and forcing him out of lane, chipping away at that health bar, deny CS, push him in, get some tower plates, and then jungle priority. You know, will Windshield go up there and try to defend Watermelon God, or will he sit mid lane and try to get Santo Masi ahead, or will he go down to the bot lane and try to offset the advantage Caitlyn has? So I think a lot of this game comes down to Windshield's early pathing and whether or not he can make plays on this Lee Sin, because if we get to 15-20 minutes and Lee Sin doesn't have an advantage and the Vladimir isn't kind of stabilizing, it's going to be difficult for Pepperdine to win the mid game.
Definitely. And just as we are loading into the game, I know that we can talk about both teams starting with a rough 5-point and all of that going down, but I would like to just say, a little bit of a blind face check here from the side of University of Wyoming. Zach down. That could have been disastrous.
Yeah, risky to go in by himself and face check that bush.
Yes, but before we get into it, I just want to say, because I didn't say it before, just 100% to make sure we are all good with the CSL rules. We are watching with the traditional in-client 3-minute spectator delay, as well as this stream is on a 2-minute delay. So what you live viewers are seeing is 5 minutes behind the action. So if we respond to something a little late in chat or something like that, it's because you're seeing it at a 2-minute delay, and then we're seeing everything at the 5-minute delay. So just wanted to make that all good and clear. Now we will
do our best to answer questions, but we are trying to cast the game, and we will obviously be a little delayed on answering your questions. All right. Looks like after that sloppy level 1, everything's kind of normalized out. We've got junglers starting their respective buffs. Although we do see that Windshield starting blue buff on the top side, so that will give a little bit of lane priority to Bobby Joe and Liquid Core JJ, and perhaps kind of mitigate the early advantage that Caitlyn Nautilus should have. They can get a little bit of a push.
Definitely. I think that, while that early level 1 was a bit sloppy from the side of Taboo Parrot, he was able to recall, was able to get full health by the time and get to that red buff, so it ultimately was not the worst thing for the University of Wyoming here. And
yeah, I mean, you might actually even say that Pepperdine perhaps should have capitalized a little bit more on that. All they got for it was a ward, and that's it. So early level 2, as expected from Pepperdine's bot lane, since they didn't have the leash. See if they can continue to push this Caitlyn in, which, again, if Pepperdine can keep Caitlyn pushed in for the first couple of levels, that's a huge advantage for them.
Very true. You definitely want to not allow this Caitlyn to get big in any way, shape, or form, because when all of Wyoming goes in, the Caitlyn is the one who's going to be really dishing out that damage from the backline. So you want their damage source to be as far behind as you can possibly make her.
Absolutely. We see Annie has the push advantage in mid lane. That's probably to be expected. Annie is, range champion, is going to have just a little bit more poke potential, a little bit faster clear in the mid lane. Although it does open her up to an early Lee Sin game. So I'm very curious to see if Windchill, makes that mid lane his priority.
It'll be interesting to see. Fairly even CS-wise from both teams at this point in the game. Oh, Nautilus Hook goes down on the Jhin. He is rooted. The Leona E goes down onto the Caitlyn, roots her as well. Windchill is there to do the follow-up. He gets the first blood onto the Caitlyn after his Q lands. That was an excellent play from Liquid Core JJ to lock down the Caitlyn to make sure that she didn't get the kill onto his Jhin before Windchill could be there to help.
Yeah, excellent re-engage from the Leona. Fantastic.
See a little bit of a skirmish going down here in the mid lane. The Ignite goes down. Santomasi wants it. Now he might be in a little bit of danger here. No. Santomasi really wanted that kill onto the Annie here, but now the Zac is here to potentially cause a problem. The flash goes down. Lee Sin is there. Annie's stun is there as well, though.
Yeah, I think the smart play from Windchill just to back out. No reason to overforce that since Santomasi had already burned his flash.
A lot of damage going down here onto DRG Halo Shadow? We'll call him Halo. That'll be our little nickname.
Yeah.
Onto Halo up here in the top lane.
Very well played from the Watermelon God up in the top side there. Really kind of chunking out this Volibear. Has the level advantage. Has a small CS lead. I mean, very well played. Although to be expected considering the elo discrepancy as noted earlier.
Mm-hmm. It should also be noted that in that first blood, it did go over to the Lee Sin, so actually Bobby Joe is not that much further ahead than the Caitlyn here right now. That power was really transferred over to Pepperdine's jungler. We'll have to see what Windchill can do with it.
Yeah, it's not a terrible thing for the first blood to go to the Lee Sin, as long as he can translate that early gold and that early advantage to other lanes, right? You'd want it on the Jhin, because for the scaling in the late game and for the carry. But if the Lee Sin can take that gold, take that advantage, and go mid lane and get a kill, go top lane and get a kill, and snowball the whole map versus just one lane, then it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So priority for Windchill is get into the different lanes and start to use Lee Sin's early advantage and early power to try to affect the map globally.
Definitely, and maybe giving a little bit of attention to help out the Vladimir top side to make sure he can get to those item power spikes that he so desperately needs, but it looks like there's going to be another skirmish up here in the top side. Watermelon God in a little bit of a tough spot, but he'll be okay.
Yeah, you can see the advantage.
The ultimate goes down from Watermelon God onto the Volibear here. Another little skirmish bot side.
Yeah, I don't know that I fully agree with the Watermelon God's use of his ultimate there. I mean, he was trying to force a flash or something since he got 6 early, but kind of the Volibear just walks away, and when the Volibear hits 6, he's gonna, now that he's 6, he'll have the ultimate advantage, and, you know, maybe not worth. Hard to say.
Yeah, Watermelon God really wanted more to come out of that play. A flash at the very least, but
TP from the Volibear.
TP from the Volibear goes down. Ultimately, Lee Sin is able to get away. The Dragon will go over to the side of Wyoming, and Jin is in a tough spot here, as is their Leona. Kiana ult goes down, manages to save Leona's life. Pepperdine is following up. Watermelon God flashes in, uses his
big timbers.
Ooh, my goodness.
This is not looking good.
Not good for Pepperdine. I got a little bit kerfuffled there. There was so much going on.
Yeah, I mean, we said it in Champs Lab, Ramsey. This team fight comp from University of Wyoming is big. The Volibear jumps in, the Nautilus jumps in, and then out of the corner of your eye, the Annie drops tippers on 3 people.
Yeah, and with how clumped up for a moment there University of Wyoming was, you have to wonder if the Watermelon God is looking at his ult on cooldown thinking, ooh, that would have been the perfect moment, but I guess
it absolutely would have been. I mean, he flashes in there with his empowered W up, or empowered E perhaps.
Yeah.
Flashes in. If he'd had his ultimate, he could have flashed in, ulted, and then dropped that empowered E. I think that absolutely changes the fight.
He might have still lost his life, but he would have taken at least 2 members of University of Wyoming down with him, making it well worth its while. But
absolutely. Instead, it's a 2-for-1 and a dragon to University of Wyoming, if my math is right.
Yes, a mountain dragon, so not the most impactful dragon in the game, but definitely not something that Pepperdine wants to go over, considering it gets them all that much closer to the soul point.
Well, and you say that, but remember, this is a big tanky front line from University of Wyoming. They want to stack resistances. They want to get big, and that mountain dragon will help them do that.
Very true. Oh, all of Pepperdine is here, but they ultimately disengage. The 3, I should say, top, jungle, and mid is there.
Lots of pings going down. Really good vision from the University of Wyoming. pink wards littered throughout the river, both in the top side and the bot side.
Yeah, Pepperdine was trying to lay down some vision around the Herald, so they definitely don't want that objective going over to University of Wyoming as well.
Yeah, if University of Wyoming can get the Herald, drop in top lane, and get this Volibear out of the long lane with the Vladimir, I think that is a huge advantage for them.
A little bit of a gank coming out here top side. Volibear uses his Q to rush away. Lee Sin is there though. Falling back into the alcove, trying to stall for time as Zach makes his way, but the Kiana is here as well. Volibear uses his ult to try to get away, but ultimately the kill goes over to the Watermelon God.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. I know that Nautilus did not want to take that many tower shots there, but it still looks like Leona might go down. No, manages to keep her alive.
That's the power of that early game Caitlyn. She has so much damage with those headshots. She's able to just force them away despite the Nautilus taking 2 tower shots.
Yeah, you definitely know that is not. Oh, the Watermelon God with a little bit of an overextension here. Does he have his W to get away? Zach ult goes down. The Watermelon God stays. Yeah, shows no fear. Oh, he's backing off now if you look at the mini-map, but man.
Very, very well played from the Watermelon
God. Tibbers goes down and does not get the stun onto Kiana, but does ultimately get the kill from the Tibbers burn. Bit of a spicy bot lane, but see the Jhin ult goes down here to try to go onto the Caitlyn. Lee Sin is there. It does not seem like he'll follow that Q.
Yeah, it's a good kill onto the Nautilus and then burning the Caitlyn flash. So all told, advantage Pepperdine in the bot side. And they'll have a free lane to then shove here and probably get a tower at minimum. Oh no! Bobby Joe backing, so opting for a better back timing instead of taking a plate. It looks like the Zach is
going over to the Volibear here top side.
And as I said, Rift Herald started up from the side of University of Wyoming. So if they can get that top tower down a little bit further, they can drop the Herald and get first turret and all the plates in the top side. So I have to say, really good global pressure and macro play from the side of University of Wyoming.
Yeah, definitely. They're making it hard for Observer Cam to even really follow the action, because I was stuck looking at what was happening with the Annie and Kiana mid lane while all of that action was going down bot side as well.
Alright, it looks like we're beginning to see the first items coming through. Both junglers picking up their respective jungle items. Mid lane, it's going to be a full lethality build, likely out of the Kiana. And both bot laners picking up completed boots before their first item. So prioritizing a little bit of mobility to try to dodge out from the Nautilus hooks and the Leona Zenith blades.
Indeed. You see the Swifties onto the Jhin, pretty par for the course, as the... What? They're not Berserkers Greaves. What are they called?
They're Berserkers Greaves,
Berserker Greaves. Okay. I was remembering correctly. The attack speed boots on the Caitlyn. Pretty normal.
Yep.
Just took me a second to... What are Greaves, technically?
I think they're the part of the boot that goes up over your shin. Maybe?
Maybe.
Chat?
Chat?
That's a question for chat.
Chat? We'll know in 2 minutes if they know the answer. We'll see Pepperdine prioritizing this second dragon here again, but Wyoming is hovering as well.
Yeah, I would expect Wyoming to have the pressure. They do have the TP advantage for a couple of seconds.
Volibear is rushing though.
Yeah.
Staying up here to skirmish with the Vladimir. The Vladimir is chunking though.
Yeah, really poorly played.
Double
from the
flash there from both top laners, and the the Infernal Drake does go over to the side of Pepperdine. Kiana ult gets 2 stuns. Chunks down the Annie there.
And Grace, I'm going to tell you right now, I think Pepperdine just stabilized this game. I think that fight is going to dictate the rest of the game. You had a poor engage from the Volibear topside, doesn't get to TP in, doesn't get to be a front line for that fight. Dragon goes over to Pepperdine, they get a kill under the mid laner. The Kiana's going to get a little bit of gold for the mid lane tower. I think that might be kind of a game-deciding fight, barring no errors or, you know, thrown team fights.
Definitely. The Leona does get caught by the Nautilus Q here, chunked down by the Caitlyn, but the re-engage goes down. There's also a fight happening top lane as well.
Skirmishes everywhere, and no kills.
No kills.
Stopwatch used by the Nautilus under tower just to keep them extra safe. And I believe Flash burned. Oh no, both Flashes were burned in the previous fight on the top side. So
yes,
just
Windchill and Leona are there just to make sure nothing too crazy happens. They're both hovering, looking for the potential kill.
It looks like maybe a dive coming out on the top side, though. Diving on Vladimir is dangerous.
The Herald comes out, but the CC was layered up there beautifully by University of Wyoming, but the Caitlyn will ultimately go down as well, so
it's a double kill on the bot side in exchange for a kill and first tower in the top side.
So not the most horrendous trade, but definitely you have to applaud Pepperdine for seeing what was happening topside with the Zac being there and just going for it there in the bottom side, making sure they got something worthwhile from that knowledge that they had of where Zac was up there in the top side.
Yeah, no, very well played from the University of, in fact, on both sides, right? Mm-hmm. Advantage gained in the top side, as we said, it would help, and then counterplay in the bot side.
We see the Volley Bear took the Lee Sin's blue buff. Windchill 400 will not be happy about that when he eventually gets back around to his topside jungle.
More importantly, denying that blue buff from the Kiana, who has been spamming her abilities trying to keep up with the wave clear of the Annie, whereas the Annie will likely get a blue buff and has some item priority on mana.
Yeah, the lost chapter into the Luden's Echo definitely helps Annie a lot with that mana regeneration there in the mid lane.
Small advantages here, small advantages there, but they add up in the global perspective of the mid lane will have more shove potential, which means University of Wyoming will be able to roam quicker and get to objectives faster just by virtue of where the blue buff is, who has advantage, who's able to spam their abilities.
Pepperdine's Bobby Joe and Liquid Core JJ just helping getting some vision control there in the river before ultimately going back to their lane. You do have 2 kills on this Jhin now, so he's looking a little bit scary to High Lord bound there in the bot lane.
And more importantly, a 40 CS lead, so up close to 1,500 gold.
B-Lisk tells us that Grieve is the French word for shin armor, perhaps. Oh, a big fight going down here in the bot lane. The Leona ult manages to stun out the Nautilus. Annie goes down, but Kiana gets the Annie in return. Tibbers, I should say, goes down. Jhin ultimately gets the Zac, but he has his passive, so we'll see who gets the kill there in the end. Bobby Joe gets the kill on Caitlyn with the last strike of his ultimate. Volley Bear is there trying to get something worthwhile, but heavens to Betsy, that was a scrappy fight, but one that ultimately came out for the side of Pepperdine.
Pepperdine's top laner got there first, got more damage out in the start of the fight, helps burn down the tanks. It comes down to execution, Ramsey. We said it. That last dragon fight, I think, was the break point for this game. We see better macro play out of Pepperdine, the TP comes in earlier, and they win the fight. Now, can they translate it to any objectives on the map? Can they get the bot lane tower? Can they get some vision down? Can they prioritize this next dragon? We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it seems like what we're seeing in each of these fights, while University of Wyoming has such a strong team fight, they are just not playing that positioning well, not always layering their CC in the best ways, and so ultimately Pepperdine is able to get the upper hand. Just like in that fight right before, the fight that you said was the tipping point of the game, Annie was caught out over to the left on the other side of that wall there in the river. Here, Annie was caught out over on that side as well, while the rest of her team were being engaged on. So it's just bad positioning decisions on the side of University of Wyoming. Tibbers goes down, tries to get the kill onto the Watermelon God. Ultimately, nothing happens, but Kiana is there. Almost gets the Annie with her Q.
Is forced to plant. The Annie is forced to... No, sorry, the Zac. The Zac has to burn a flash in that image.
Annie very
so much happening. Hard to keep it all straight. And ultimately, the Riptail goes over to Pepperdine. So again, you see these small advantages creeping up for Pepperdine, and they're translating it into objectives. Although it does reset,
Herald
which is
reset.
not good.
University of Wyoming should be able to defend this if they
Yeah, that
want.
reset gives them time to get back in, get some vision, and maybe contest this.
They need
think
to
so.
go a little bit faster if they want to get the Rift Herald. They will not be able to contest. It doesn't even look like they're going to try to engage on Pepperdine, which honestly, I think that's wise.
Think if there was a second dragon on the side of Wyoming, if they hadn't lost that dragon fight, they probably are in the advantage in the bot side, where instead of the Leona engaging onto University of Wyoming and the Vladimir arriving first with TP, if Wyoming is in fact engaging onto the Leona and the Volibear's TPing it first and ulting onto the Pepperdine backline rather than ulting to try to get a final kill before he dies. I mean, these small little things are cropping up and making a difference in this game.
Definitely. Pepperdine just kind of clearing out vision, potentially getting this Scuttle Crab, just a little bit of a lull in the action in the game.
A lull state, as we refer to it.
The chunks do go down from this Volibear here, but Vladimir not in too much danger. Kiana looking hungry for this Annie here in the bot lane, manages to get the everything down onto Annie and just
And she's
kinda...
gone.
Tibbers is alive, but won't be able to get the revenge for his master.
It shocks me that Annie does not have a Zanya at this point. Or
The
even
flash hook goes down from the Nautilus. The R goes down from the Leona to try to keep the team from getting onto her Jhin, and it does manage to work while Zach, it does go in and use his ultimate. No one is dead so far. The kick goes down from Lee Sin to just get the Volibear away, it seems.
Kill in the bot lane to Pepperdine, but Jin's flash and heal and the Leona flash burn. So that's a lot of summer.
And the Leona R, which I know is coming back up, but if they engage here, it won't be up very quickly. So while no one from Pepperdine dies, a lot of resources were committed to making that happen. Or
The
not
question
happen,
is,
I should say.
what can University of Wyoming do in the next 5 minutes while those key summoner spells are down? Can they get a pick near Baron by trying to force Baron? Dragon isn't up for a couple more minutes, so, can they get vision down around the Dragon, force Pepperdine to face check, and maybe jump on that Jhin while his flash is still down? We'll have to wait and see.
Definitely. And while Pepperdine is looking good so far, I will definitely say on the side of University of Wyoming, it is winnable. Definitely winnable. Pepperdine needs to just have a really, really bad fight, and Wyoming can come back into the game. Or the Leona could get caught out here by a mixture of the Annie and the Caitlyn and the Volibear. Liquid Core JJ not happy that that happened. Will he? He's still alive.
It's hard to pick the Leona in the river, right? Leona with Aftershock is a tanky lady, so a lot committed there to try to pick the Leona in the river.
Yeah, including Volibear ultimate as well, so you won't have that for a little while. A lot of time too, though, which is really the key component, the key resource here in a lot of League of Legends games.
All right, we see Dragon coming up in the next minute. I think that's going to be the next big objective fight we have.
Yeah, University of Wyoming definitely wants to keep Pepperdine off that soul point for as long as possible, because Ocean Soul on Pepperdine's team would be pretty gross.
Oh, that Kiana will be unkillable with an Ocean Soul. Like, just nutty. And the Vladimir, yeah. GG, go next if Pepperdine gets the Ocean Soul, barring some huge throw. Now, on the flip side, that Volibear will be just as unkillable with Ocean Soul. So, really important for both teams, and I would expect to see every Dragon henceforth to be contested.
Definitely, it's interesting to see. Something that's important to note is that the Bramble Vest is on the Zac here. Some Grievous runes going down, but Volibear is caught out and will get chunked down. And right before that Ocean Soul, Pepperdine just had the vision there.
Can University of Wyoming burn this down before Pepperdine gets there? And the answer is no. Dragon should, and maybe the fight even too, go over to the University.
The Leona E was perfect there. Kiana goes down as well, gets the stun onto Annie. Zach is going to... Oh, no, Pepperdine's going to let him go away. I thought they were going to keep going there onto the Zach and the Annie, considering they were both so low.
And we're starting to see... Excuse me. We're starting to see that difference in skill level, both on a macro sense and on a micro sense, come through. The Volibear just a little bit too far overextended in the bot lane, right before a key dragon fight, gets caught out. And then University of Wyoming tries to force the dragon, can't do it, gets pushed away, dragon to Pepperdine.
Yeah. I know I mentioned earlier that the Leona really did not want to get caught out in the river there, but honestly, supports, you gotta clear vision, you gotta get wards, and sometimes stuff like that can happen if you aren't properly covered, but when you're looking at the result of that pick versus the pick on the Volibear, they're two completely different situations, because Leona honestly could really afford to get picked there. You still don't want to see it, but with the University of Wyoming not following up on it the way they could have, versus, you know, the Volibear getting picked up and not being there to help his team secure the dragon, it really does kind of show how different those situations are and how sort of the two picks can be compared.
You are absolutely right, Chris. Perfect analysis. Getting picked with no objectives up, bummer, not the end of the world. Getting picked right before a key dragon fight when you are the frontline engaged for your team, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that Pepperdine wants to start putting vision down in the Baron pit and begin to make University of Wyoming...
There's already a lot of vision around that Baron pit right now for Pepperdine, so they just want to protect that vision and keep it up there for as long as possible.
Yep, try to force the University of Wyoming to check, face check them, you know, threaten that Baron. You don't need to start it, you can just threaten it, force them to face check you, use the Leona lockdown to get a pick, and then start the Baron.
Definitely something really interesting to note as well on the side of University of Wyoming. You'll notice that already 2 pairs of Mercury Treads have been picked up by their frontline tanky boys, the Volibear and the Zac. Not only mitigating some of that magic damage coming out from Pepperdine, mostly from the Vladimir, but also just generally giving them a little bit more survivability by decreasing the time on all of those different crowd control effects.
Absolutely, trying to cut down even by a fraction of a second. The Leona stun or the Leona ult, very crucial for dodging skill shots in team fights.
But equally important, you see those Mercury's Treads on the side of Pepperdine as well, on both the Kiana and the Lee Sin, who are doing very well in this game thus far.
Trying to mitigate the stuns from the Volibear or the Annie or the Zac, although I think Zac's, both of his CCs are in the form of knock-up, which Mercury Treads does not impact.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd like to see the Mercury Treads on the Annie here rather than the Magic Pen boots, if I'm being completely honest, with just how often she's getting rooted and kind of caught out by the Kiana here. Maybe
or
having
perhaps even Ninja Tabbies to mitigate some of the Lee Sin auto attacks, or the Jhin or the Kiana, you know. Yeah, I don't fully agree with the aggressive boost out of the Annie, especially in light of the fact that she still does not have a Seeker's Arm Guard or a Zanya's.
Yeah, it just seems like poor itemization on the side of the Annie. As someone who, you know, I forget his name right now, but there's that, you know, Challenger Annie one trick. I've watched a lot of his games.
I believe his name is Annibot.
Annibot, true, yeah. He tends to prioritize building a slightly tankier, more utility-based Annie in a lot of his games. Not always, but you know, with just how sort of aggressive Pepperdine has been and with how much Annie seems to be suffering in terms of getting picked off, you maybe would want to build something like you said, the Ninja Tabbies and the Zonya's Hourglass way more earlier in your build path, just to have a little bit more survivability so that you could even do that damage that your damaging items would allow you to do.
If the Annie gets jumped on by the Kiana and she dies before she can ult, that's not good. If she gets jumped on and she can Zanya's and then press ult immediately coming out of the Zanya's, at least she gets her ult down.
Mm-hmm.
As LS would say, beat by Boris the shopkeeper.
This dragon is up in just under 20 seconds, and it would be soul point for the side of Pepperdine. And honestly, I think if Pepperdine gets this Ocean Soul, then the game is just kind of lost for University of Wyoming. I don't see how they could get back into it, aside from, you know, Pepperdine all collectively DCing or something along those lines.
I have had situations where my jungler DC'd during Clash, up to, I think one time we had 15 minutes of a 4v5, and we won the game.
It happens, you know, you never want to give up hope, but...
No, I think right now, for the University of Wyoming to get back in this game, they need to get, just like Pepperdine got a pick before a key objective, to make it a 4v5 at a Baron or 4v5 at a Dragon. But if Pepperdine gets this Dragon, it's going to be very, very difficult for University of Wyoming.
Yeah, you see kind of a weird sort of ward fight going on between Pepperdine and University of Wyoming, both kind of competing for information around this
coming
trade.
in on the backside.
Very true. The Volleybear's teleport comes out a little bit late here, and so again, Volleybear gets to this fight late. The Kiana ult goes down. So much CC coming out from both teams. The shutdown onto the Kiana goes over to the Annie, but everyone on the side of University of Wyoming is so low, but they ultimately get the pick on the Vladimir as well, but the Caitlyn goes down. It ultimately looks though like the fight is going in the favor of University of Wyoming there. That it's definitely not something Pepperdine wanted to see. But everyone on the side of University of Wyoming is so incredibly low here. The red team gets the dragon, and it looks like Winshow will give his life on attempting that steal. And that is, what, 3 kills in that fight going over to that Annie?
And maybe a Baron going to UW too. I mean, like I just said, get a pick before a key dragon fight, get the objective translated. That's the only way they get back into this. And Pepperdine, you know, you saw the Vladimir TP coming in on the top side of, or I guess the mid lane area bridge behind the blue buff of University of Wyoming, and then forced to run all the way down to the fight in the lower area of the river. Pepperdine has a ward in bot lane. The Vladimir couldn't TP into the bot side and run up from behind and got a crucial flank, and that didn't happen. Is it misexecution? Maybe.
Pepperdine trying to stop this Baron the best they can. The Baron does go over, but the kill on the Zac goes over to the Kiana, but ultimately the Caitlyn gets the kill onto the Vladimir. The kill goes on the Nautilus, goes over to the Kiana. This fight's looking better for Pepperdine, but still not great because the Zac is so healthy here as he tries to go onto it before getting it. Gets the kill, but Pepperdine is there. While University of Wyoming does get the Baron, in the end, it only stays on the Caitlyn. She's the only one who survives.
You know, hard to say whether that's worth or not. Probably not, but you know, can they get the Baron and get out instead of taking the fight? Maybe. Are they forced to take the fight? Hard to say. Good on Pepperdine to get in there and get the Baron off before people.
Indeed, and we're just seeing these like scrappy CC heavy fights going down. And
yeah, I mean, these are two teams that want a team fight and they're just scrapping it out.
I will have to say that Kiana ultimate around the Baron pit, terrifying every time I see it.
Oh yeah, no.
Such a great place for her ultimate.
You do not want to get caught in the pit with a Kiana roaming about. She will absolutely punish you for being out of position.
Especially the 8, 2, and 5 Kiana on the side of Pepperdine.
With 3 full lethality items. Oh yeah.
And now a blue buff. Like you said, the blue buff will going over to the Kiana. So I will say that one really, really bad fight from Pepperdine did give University of Wyoming room to get back into the game, but then they had a almost equally bad fight in the Baron pit. And
yes, although both major objectives went over to the University of Wyoming. That's kind of the difference maker there. So we see the Volleybear getting caught in the river.
The kick goes down from the Lee Sin as well as the Leona ultimate. Both of those summoner abilities will, not summoner, you know what I mean. Cooldown abilities will be up relatively quickly. And he has her stun there.
And the watermelon guy just gets caught out.
The Annie is very, very low here, but no one from Pepperdine is in position to capitalize on that. Hoobie777 can get away.
And that Annie was non-existent, and all of a sudden she's now 7 kills, only down, she was down 50 CS, now down 30 CS. So this Annie, with Zanya's now picked up, is starting to be a bit of a team fight threat from the side of University of Wyoming.
Yeah, but that is a very, very late Zonia's. However, Pepperdine seems to not have been able to really set her behind the way that they should have. Or, well, they really did, but they, in those sloppy fights, they allowed her to get those kills that she needed to get back into the game.
We see the Nautilus has finished up a Knight's Vow, so more added safety for that Caitlyn in the back line.
It looked like he put it onto the Zac, actually.
Really? Did I?
No, I might be crazy. They were standing right next to each other.
That would be very strange.
No, yeah, it's on the Caitlyn. They were just right next to each other, and I didn't see it correctly.
Those are those 5-head strats, Ramsey.
Who knows? Who knows? Sometimes you see the Knight's Vow on the Zac. Who am I to say?
All right.
Definitely. University of Wyoming is feeling the pressure for this one as well, and Pepperdine really, really wants this soul, not only so that they can have the soul, but also so that University of Wyoming is not on soul point.
Yep. This dragon is going to be super impactful the remainder of this game. Uh-oh, Leona caught out the river.
Oh no, Liquid Core JJ flashes out, but ultimately dies to the Nautilus here. That is not what you wanted to see. I don't know why she was there. And that's in a 4v5, Ramsey. The Volibear is still topside with TP. Wow.
We do see the Lee Sin sneaking in here, trying to get the steal, and he gets it.
Wow. I was just flabbergasted and amazed as I watched that go down. Pepperdine gets in, gets the dragon, and gets out.
That's a heist. That's the heist of the century from the Lee Sin there. Gets in.
Ocean's 4. Literally. It was Ocean Drake.
Roundhouse kick to the Zac. Bye-bye. I'll take this dragon and Dragon Soul and peace out.
Man. Sorry, I'm just tickled that it's still like Ocean's 11. Anyway. We do see this mid turret going down to the side of University of Wyoming. It's kind of a sad consolation prize, especially when Pepperdine seems like they're engaging back in very aggressively onto University of Wyoming here. That Annie was just, you know, not where she needed to be. Looks like the Nautilus is going to die as well. Leona E locks him down enough for Kiana to get there. Volibear gets the stun onto Lee Sin, but ultimately it doesn't do much.
I think we'll see an inhibitor tower taken and then maybe perhaps rotate into a Baron for Pepperdine.
That's what I would expect. Maybe even an inhibitor.
Yeah, it looks like they might.
Especially if they get this pick onto the Volibear. No, they should. No, they will end up getting that pick onto Hot Halo there.
Yep, looks like we're gonna take the inhib. I would imagine they rotate straight to Baron, back, spend some gold, and end the game. Or they try to force here.
I mean, they could just. I mean, that's certainly a thing you can do.
Oh, the
Kiana ult just destroys the Caitlyn there. Pepperdine was like, okay, we're done. This game's boring for us now. We don't care anymore.
You know, we take those, but I gotta say, that's a little sloppy for Pepperdine. I mean, they gave UW a number of chances to try to get back into that game.
Indeed. I definitely think that, the reason I was like, maybe not, I was thinking that they probably shouldn't engage onto the Volibear there just because of the potential for the people who are coming off of respawn to come in. They're under tower, but Pepperdine just kind of, you know, did it.
I mean, hey.
I'm going to say big brain energy there.
And
Definitely.
you can get picks under the Nexus Tower. If you can get a full Nexus Kiana ulti and lock down the Caitlyn, you can win the game.
Definitely. Yeah, that was certainly a thing that we saw. that we got to experience there. So currently, Pepperdine is up 1-0 in this series, best of 3 versus University of Wyoming. We are waiting to get into the next lobby now. What do you think needs to change? What do you expect to see adjustment-wise from both teams going into this next game?
I think Pepperdine needs to pick more lane dominant champions. They picked teamfight into teamfight. They lost the early game and then capitalized on mistakes and outplays. And I don't think that's the right approach. You know, like, if you're better than them and you can do that, great. But what happens when they go up against a UCLA or an Irvine or a USC or somebody who, you know, is going to punish those mistakes and not give you a chance to get back into the game? So I'd like to see, you know, maybe it's more comfort, maybe it's a different style, or just, you know, win lane, win game. But ultimately, you know, Pepperdine lost early, and then they got a couple key fights, and then almost through. And I feel like, you know, that's just not the right approach. Now, you know, from the side of UW, just great game, right? Do the same thing you were doing. Win the early game.
Make sure to go to
win the
spectate,
team fights.
just FYI.
As soon as there's availability,
Yeah.
I will. We need
There was just a moment
join that,
ago, but
and
there
then if
kind of do a little
sorry,
bit
folks.
of
Yeah, we're
here.
dealing with technical difficulties here. There we go. Wait, what?
Psyched you out.
I know, right? So, to continue my train of thought, from the University of Wyoming, very well done. Let's see if I can do this. That will help. Spec link for the, okay. And then there we go. All right, wonderful. So, from the side of University of Wyoming, do the same thing. Pick for early game, win your lanes. I mean, I think we saw the Jin, you know, steal didn't accomplish much. The Caitlyn was, you know, okay in the early game, not phenomenal, but like matched the Jin just fine. Jin didn't take over the game. It really was the Kiana and the misexecution in the top side. And where University of Wyoming won was when they had that Volibear engaging into Pepperdine, and they lost when the Vladimir got to the team fight early and got good engages, and the Leona was able to engage. Now, it went back and forth in a number of ways, and so there's execution errors on both sides. But I think University of Wyoming had a good draft, a good strategy, and I think if they can get that same thing and then make a one less error or not get picked one more time, they can certainly take games off of Pepperdine, which, for being, you know, somewhat disadvantaged, is, I think, an accomplishment. Now, we'll see if Pepperdine switches up their roster. Hard to say as of now.
Definitely, and I am trying to put together a scene real quick on the fly, considering we were kind enough to be gifted the Pro Draft Spectator link for this game. So I'm trying to get that ready for our audience here.
Just keep in mind, folks, we don't have a big old production team behind us setting this all up and talking to our ears. We do everything off the cuff.
We do it live!
We do it live!
Uh,
As far as draft adaptations, I think we're going to see perhaps a Kiana ban. I don't think that University of Wyoming can let that go through with Pepperdine. You know, if Pepperdine's going to build team fight into team fight, and University wants to opt into that team fight game, I think they have to ban the Kiana. Unfortunately, there's just too much team fight capability around those big objectives for the Kiana to be let through. Now, I don't know what ban they dropped in favor of it, but I think they need to make that happen. And on the side of Pepperdine, I think you're fine. I don't think any one pick was super threatening there. You know, maybe you decide we don't need the Jin, and you leave the Jin up and take something else into it if there's an Ashe or, I don't know, a Twitch or something they feel is comfortable, but... Looks like we're just waiting for final lineups to be locked in here. guess in the meantime, let me take a peek back at chat, see if there's any...
There we go. We are getting into the pro draft here, it seems. There we go. All right, we are in it. Apologies for the slight delay there. We are doing it live.
All right, looks like first... So same bands out of University of Wyoming thus far. Talon and Ash taken off the table. And then on the side of Pepperdine, a Galio band and a Quinn band. So similar draft priority, taking away that Quinn out of the top side. And then a Wukong band from the side of University of Wyoming. Interesting. So again, probably looking to play a team fight comp and don't want that big team fight ultimate to be used on the side of Pepperdine. First pick here from Pepperdine.
The Jin goes over to the University of Wyoming.
Yeah, so no ban, and I imagine that Pepperdine has something prepped here in response to that. Oh, they take the Caitlyn. Okay, so we're going to see the run back, but flipped on the side of Pepperdine, taking Caitlyn and Leona into the Jin. And then University of Wyoming going into their second pick here. I would imagine we'll see a jungle and a support lock in here, and then indeed we see the Nautilus come through, and then the Zek. So looking like they're going to stick with the same comp, same strategy, big frontline engage on the side of University of Wyoming with backline damage, try to win out team fights around objectives. I wonder if Pepperdine will lock the Kiana here, or if they'll let that go to the next phase, and we'll see if University of Wyoming bans it.
It'll be interesting to see if it's indeed the Nidalee here.
Okay. So this is a bit of a deviation. This is Pepperdine saying, hey, we see that you want a team fight, and we're instead going to get into your jungle, deny you resources, and try to pick you off and play the pick comp. So...
And I imagine some of it, too, is they want to make sure that Windchill isn't banned out of good champions here, which makes a lot of sense from Pepperdine.
I like this Shen ban. I think that's a crucial ban. If University of Wyoming gets the opportunity to have a safe laner in the top side and then just ulti into the team fights and protect a carry, that's huge. We see a Yasuo ban go out, and I wonder what the last ban here from Pepperdine will be. Xerath. Interesting. So
this
another
is,
backline.
I think, exactly the bans we saw from Pepperdine in the first game. In almost the same order.
They found a strategy and they're sticking to it.
Yeah, but you do see the Vladimir ban come out from the University of Wyoming, forcing the Watermelon God onto the Ornn.
This is interesting because half of Pepperdine's comp wants to team fight. The Caitlyn wants to team fight, the Leona, the Ornn. They want to be in team fights, locking people down and creating disruption. But the Nidalee wants to be picking people off and flanking and invading. So curious to see how Pepperdine uses that Nidalee with their kind of big tanky team fight front line.
Yeah, the Annie goes down again from University of Wyoming. They are going to run it back.
Are we going to see the salty run back with the Jin in place of the Caitlyn? Or will they throw us something new in the top side?
I'm very interested to see what they pick into this Ornn. Poppy.
Well, that is good. It can stop the Leona hook while she goes in. It can stop the Nidalee jump. I don't think it can stop the Ornn dash, though. I think the Ornn is unstoppable during his charge.
Yeah, he's unstoppable, I do believe.
Yeah. Have to have chat check that one for me.
Yeah, in 2 minutes they'll tell us. In 2 minutes.
Exactly. Hey, they told us about Greaves, so appreciate that one.
Yeah, thanks for doing us a solid. And mid lane Lucian. I mean, hear me out. Could be top lane Lucian, mid lane Ornn. Could be.
Well, it's not unprecedented.
It shouldn't be, but could be. And I wouldn't put it past Pepperdine to do us a solid and give us something interesting in the form of something like that.
I wouldn't put a Lucian up against the Poppy. If Poppy flash, wall stuns, throws up her shield, that Lucian is done for.
Yeah, more likely than not, it is a Lucian mid. But I just want throw out the possibility. You gotta throw everything at the wall and see what hits, right?
Yeah, I don't know. This is interesting. Double AD carry comp with a big front line and a backline spear throwing Nidalee.
It's a composition, and we'll just have to see if it works.
I imagine they're on a next level strat that I'm not aware of, and
yeah, they're big braining right now. Remember what we said with the end? It's the big brain energy.
I'm too smooth brain for these folks.
Yeah, chat thinks that Tyler and Santo are pretty nasty, meaning Windchill 400 and Santa Massey. I will say in that previous game, I did not hear you say Evan Chill.
Pathetic.
I don't know if you said Windchill, but I didn't hear you say Evan Chill.
I said Windchill, and I don't think I messed it up, which kudos to me.
Good job for you.
That being said, Evan kicks us into this game, so you know, we'll see when they're both back in the game if we can get it right.
Who questions my ability?
I'm seeing in the chat Poppy's good into Ornn. Yeah, I would imagine so. I just don't know if the Ornn dash is unstoppable
the E.
or not. Yeah, the E.
I know he's unstoppable with his W, but I don't know when charging. And we're just looking at the picks and bans again here in the official client, so we get the hype, I guess, to see it. But we've already seen it in pro draft, so nothing too surprising is going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see. You know, we do see winning lanes in the mid and the bot, which means that Nidalee should be invading on her side with pushing lanes. It should give her a fair bit of space. I mean, especially this mid lane Lucian should hopefully be able to push this Annie in and really punish her. I hope we see an arm guard out of the Annie early and perhaps a first item Zanya's.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, this Nidalee should have some priority, and I'm thinking the Nidalee was picked because they had in mind a mid lane Lucian, and they were going to be pushing in the Annie and trying to get that duo into the jungle to deny resources, but we'll see how it plays out.
Chat has some fighting words for University of Wyoming here. Dear Scott from the league team says Pepperdine won draft, and even though Poppy has some tools that she can use to kind of shut down the Ornn a little bit in lane, Scott's right. If Poppy can never kill Ornn in lane, then what does it even matter?
Well, and the other factor is, if the Ornn blows his Ornn horn and the Poppy ulties him away before he can recast it, I mean, that's a huge team fight ability that can be countered by the Poppy. So, yes, the Poppy probably won't ever kill the Ornn, but if the Poppy can shut down the Ornn's ability to be a team fight menace, maybe we'll see some counterplay there.
Indeed, it'll be interesting to see what goes down here in the team fight. The lanes are they're not going to be too surprising, I don't think. But it'll be interesting for the team fight.
Yeah, we'll see early push out of the Caitlyn, early push out of the Lucian. I imagine the top lane is just, a wet noodle fight with tanks, and they're just going to be slapping each other left and right, trying to get grasp procs off, but we'll see. I think a lot of it comes down to how much early game priority will this Nidalee have? Can she starve out the Zac, deny resources, and make that Zac not the unkillable team fight champion that it wants to be? And then, what are the flanks looking like? Can the Nidalee hop over some walls and steal some objectives? Or, how can that Nidalee just be a nuisance? So we'll have to see. I imagine, in the last game, I thought that University of Wyoming actually won the draft. And in this case, I think Pepperdine has won the draft. But it's all going to come down to execution.
Definitely. Sorry, just returning a couple of important messages here real quick, but we are all good.
We've got 2 minutes to kill.
Yes,
What
2
are we gonna
minutes
talk
to
about?
kill. So how about dem cowboy? No, that's just from Texas. That's our default.
Oh.
Our default conversation starter / stopper, depending on how passionate you are.
Right. Yeah. I love football. Coach high school football, and my head coach is from Texas. Grew up playing football, knows everything about football. So definitely a conversation starter for me. However, the game we're playing today is League of Legends,
Yes.
not football. Although, that being said, there is a league mode called football where the goal is to score touchdowns by running into your enemy's nexus and fountain and scoring points. So maybe we'll see some spicy football plays today in this game.
Hopefully not.
But it would be so interesting.
While it would
Ramsey.
be so interesting and while it would be great content, it would still be bad for the team. So let's not. But definitely, and I know, like, Chad just continues to hammer it home. I do think that Pepperdine has a much stronger draft here overall, even with a little bit of the meh on the Nidalee, like what exactly she's going to be doing in fights, and the fact that Poppy does have the tool to kind of shut down some of the Ornn's utility. Pepperdine just generally can deal with all of it. It doesn't seem like it's some crazy insurmountable thing, and in fact it seems like the sort of synergy we saw from Wyoming's composition in the previous match just isn't really there. Poppy can't really engage in the same way that the Volley Bear did. She's more of a disengaged, sort of scrappy champion. So
yeah, last game University of Wyoming drafted team fight comp with a handful of winning lanes. This game, they've drafted even more, doubled down on team fight comp, but they don't have the winning lanes. So the question is going to be, how do they not get stomped in the first 6 minutes, and how do they get to those big dragon team fights at 15 minutes where they can flex those team fight advantage abilities? And when you're playing against a better opponent with losing matchups where you have to out-execute in team fights, that's an uphill battle for sure. Now,
yeah.
We did see some overly confident plays from Pepperdine last game, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's just going to be difficult.
It's going to be on Pepperdine to lose this game and on University of Wyoming to capitalize on those mistakes that would cause Pepperdine to lose the game, right? Like, that's what we really need to see out of both teams for University of Wyoming to come out the victor today and set themselves up for a reverse sweep victory. Because all Pepperdine needs to close out this series is to win this game. But
I want to draw everyone's attention to the summer spells in the mid lane. A cleanse here from the Lucian. I think that's really smart decision, not going for Ignite, not going for that early game win lane, instead taking the cleanse to help deny ganks. If the Annie stun into the Zac knockup, or the Annie stun into the Poppy stun into not being able to dash out of the Poppy cage, I think having that cleanse and being able to react more quickly and deny CC is a huge advantage for the Lucian in the mid lane. So well done on Santo Massey.
Indeed. Something I was going to point out as we got into this game was that, you can't underestimate the value of this being, like, the final point for one team. Like, if University of Wyoming loses, they will be out and done for when it comes to this series. It'll be over. For Pepperdine, they can afford to lose a game. So with a team that can sometimes get a little bit confident, you definitely need to point out that fact, because I know Pepperdine wants to win this game. It just matters whether or not in the back of their head, what exactly is going down.
We can see there the Pepperdine team spam pinging that cleanse on the Lucian. Once again, calling out that summoner spell and the advantage it should help bring in the mid lane. Nothing spicy happening here at the level 1. Just, drop some wards and hang out by your buffs. And, dance in the mid lane.
Yeah, someone asking what is Pepperdine in the chat. Not sure if that's a troll ask or not, but just to give you a fairly serious answer, we are a private liberal arts college with a Christian emphasis.
In beautiful Southern California.
On the coast of Malibu.
Hard to argue with the beauty of the scenery surrounding our campus. Fairly even starts here across the board. Everyone just in their respective lanes. Again, we're likely to see the Caitlyn Leona with the early push, early advantage. And in the mid lane, same thing, although Caitlyn gets hit by a hook.
Some scrappiness going down here in this top lane.
Yeah. Really focusing, you can already see this Lucian getting out of lane and dropping vision into the jungle on the side of University of Wyoming. So really using that lane advantage to get in and create some visions and give that Nidalee the ability to counter jungle safely.
Whoa, not a good spot for the Poppy. The shield might just save her life there. Oh, Ornn is going for it and gets the flash out of the Poppy to survive there.
Very well played from the Watermelon God.
Pretty well known from, or well done, excuse me, from the Ornn there.
I am very curious to see where this Nidalee goes. I mean, top lane is pushed in. I don't know that there's a gank opportunity there. Oh, we see a little confrontation in the top river.
The spear goes down onto Zach. He eased to get to safety there. Poppy comes to cover him and make sure he stays safe.
And the Nidalee goes and is going to secure that scuttle. So advantage in the early game to Pepperdine. They've got two pushing lanes. They've burned a flash on the top side, and their jungler has picked up one of two scuttles available on the map. So as we expected, you know, it's really going to come down to those mid-game team fights and whether or not University of Wyoming can do anything about it, or if they're just going to fall too far behind in this early game.
Little bit of information from the chat just now. It seems like this might be the University of Wyoming B team. We're not told that specifically. We're just told the school's name, so might not be playing the best of the best from the University of Wyoming, but still good games nonetheless.
Fair enough.
TP coming down from...
Yeah, very curious TP out of the Poppy. Doesn't accomplish much. We'll see if the Lucian gets picked here.
A lot of CC coming down onto the Lucian, but
there's
a
that
strange
cleanse.
Q coming down there from the Poppy. Was it the cleanse? It would have hit if the cleanse hadn't gone down?
I think so, but I'm not sure. Anyways, tons of resources and time spent in the mid lane from the University of Wyoming culminates in 2 summoner spells, and then bot lane gets a plate and top lane gets a shove in and a good back. So all told, advantage Pepperdine. Oh, flash forward.
Oh, wow. Aggression coming out here from University of Wyoming, but they were probably not expecting for the Nidalee to be there.
Yeah, good counter gank from the Nidalee.
Oh, the re-engage from the Nautilus onto the Nidalee. The Nautilus will ultimately go down to the Caitlyn though. First blood over to the Caitlyn.
I think maybe a little early on the re-engage, the Zach was still in his passive and not available to follow up there.
If it had just been a smidge later and they could have gotten the same sort of hook, then definitely that would have turned out very, very different.
We're seeing just, you know, slightly better execution on the side of Pepperdine.
Ult coming down from the Ornn there, manages to get onto the Poppy, but the Poppy will win the fight with the second activation of her Q.
Down level 5 to level 6 and still winning in the 1v1, so That does not bode well for that top side.
Part of that is that Poppy was able to get her dash ability off while Ornn got the knockup, so Ornn was not able to fully take advantage of the knockup there onto the Poppy. Her dash is her E, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We see dragons spawning here about a minute ago, so I'm curious to know who puts that early priority on it. It is, like last game, an early Mountain Drake. I think, you know, Pepperdine really would like an early Mountain Drake to get a little bit of, just a little extra armor and survivability on their double AD carries, just to make them a little bit safer to that Poppy and that Nautilus dive. But we'll see. See if Windshield goes down there and starts that up. He does have the push in the mid lane, so have his mid laner roaming first.
Yeah, you definitely see a lot of pings going down from the side of Pepperdine, setting up for that Mountain Drake. Looks like the bot lane is trying to get priority here to set up for that, but the Nidalee's coming down.
Yeah. Keep in mind,
another fight happening here in the top lane, or should I say more like a skirmish. Doesn't look like either person full committed to that, but
yep.
Scrappy.
Full TP's down in the top side, so there will not be, at least for the next couple of minutes, not be any TP plays joining a potential dragon fight or a skirmish in the bot lane. We see, I think, Nidalee starting up this dragon here. Zach's on the top side of the map, so this should just go over to Pepperdine without being contested.
I know you talked about a wet noodle fight up here in the top lane, but it's more like a stick fight.
They're smacking each other around a little bit. We see the dragon goes over to Pepperdine. Meanwhile, in the top side, the Zach has started up the Rift Herald, so it's objective traded. You know, in the pro level, they'll tell you an early Herald's better than an early Dragon because you can get a ton of gold in the form of plates, knock down a tower in a lane.
Oh, the Ornn is going to go down again to the Poppy. I'm not even sure she needed to commit her ultimate there.
Yeah, I don't think she did. And if the Zac takes the Rift Herald to the top side immediately and knocks down some plates, you're going to see a big gold advantage going over.
Oh, Engage goes down to the side of Pepperdine. It looks like Caitlyn will get the kill onto the Nautilus. That initially looked not very good for the Leona there, but
those Caitlyn headshots, they just chunk
they are
people
really
early.
something. So as weak as Pepperdine's top side appears to be right now, their bottom side is really making up for it, and we'll have to see. Oh no, it looks like the Nidalee will go down here. Ultimately goes over to the jungler from University of Wyoming, and that is something that you want to see from Wyoming, getting the priority there. Oh no, the Leona goes down as well to the Tibber stun from Annie.
Stun from Annie.
I would not have used my Jhin ultimate there, but I can definitely see what he was going for.
Yeah. Perhaps just trying to secure the kill for the Jhin if they want Jhin to be the carry. Not 100% sure. This game is pretty even so far. I mean, Pepperdine has a 2K advantage, but you know, first tower likely to go to the side of University of Wyoming in the top side there. I think a lot of it comes down to the advantage in the bot lane where the Caitlyn is up considerably.
Oh, Windshield is there in the bot lane, leaps towards that Jhin, does not ultimately nail him down. A lot of damage going down onto that Nautilus, but ultimately nothing will come of that gank.
And once again, the bot lane forced out, so perhaps Pepperdine gets the first tower here in the bot side. It looks like they will secure this. That Caitlyn is going to be big. Already up 1,500 gold over the Jhin at 11 minutes. UW looking to secure a second tower in the top, or sorry, the second tower of the game here in the top side.
Narrowly misses having the first tower there.
Really well done, and you have to ask, Could UW have stayed around and secured that top tower when they had the Rift Herald instead of backing off to back and reset? Hard to know.
Yeah, I think right now we're seeing some very, very good map plays from the side of University of Wyoming right now, getting that tower in return for the bot side tower. May not be the first tower of the game, but definitely worth returning since they could.
Oh,
the
engage here in the mid
Leona
lane.
stun into the Leona Eda root. Annie does have her stun up. Will use Tibbers to get the stun onto...
Trade
like
kill there,
the
but the
Leona and the
Caitlyn
Caitlyn.
shutdown gold goes over to the Annie. So advantage to University of Wyoming in that trade.
Definitely more worth for them. You did not want Caitlyn shutdown gold going on to basically anyone. Definitely not the Annie, which we saw was able to get some major value in the previous game.
And as we see it's fight here on the top side, the Annie did not burn any summons there, whereas the Caitlyn did burn her heal in that engage. So summer advantage to University of Wyoming as well. Now we see this Lucian has rotated down into the bot side. I don't think there's anyone on this map who can match this Lucian at the bot side right now. So I'm very curious to see what Pepperdine can do with that added pressure in the bot side.
Annie is chasing down this Ornn here. It's going to be all he can do to get away. He does flash out. The flash comes down from the Poppy here. It does look like the Ornn will be chased down and ultimately die to the
Throwing your belt buckle out.
passive auto attack there. Yeah, the Watermelon God's kind of getting styled on by Halo Shadow up here in the top lane.
He is absolutely getting styled on.
And
Chat might have been wrong about Poppy not doing anything to the Ornn in the top side.
yeah, not kill it. Well, honestly, if matchups were perfectly mechanically matched, probably wouldn't be able to kill Ornn in the top lane. But it seems like this Poppy has a lot more experience on the Poppy, and maybe based on some of the suggestions going out build-wise from the chat. Oh, hold that thought. We've got a fight here in the river, and looks like Bobby Joe will go down early in that fight, which is definitely not what you want from the side of Pepperdine. And Hoobie gets the kill onto Liquid Core JJ.
4 health.
Ooh, she keeps narrowly dying, but Pepperdine just does not have the focus to take her down in these fights. And with her ability to spam, she's able to get those stuns off and get massive value for her team.
This Poppy's just absolutely doing work as a big frontline tank. Advantage to University of Wyoming, absolutely. Dragon goes over, they've almost equalized the gold advantage. I mean, the big advantage right now is in the jungle and the mid lane where Pepperdine's up collectively almost 50 CS.
Yeah, but with those 3 kills going over to the Annie, doesn't matter all that
Annie, buy a Zonia's.
Honestly, that's the only main suggestion we've had for the Annie. Her play's been relatively clean. A couple positioning errors in the late part of the last game, but overall pretty clean Annie play. Into some tough matchups.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Annie's immobile, and the Lucian can just dash on her and, you know, light her up with his double tap ability, just as we're seeing here. Looks like Wyoming continuing to put priority on the vision around this Rift Herald. Not wanting that to go over to Pepperdine, although it looks like Pepperdine will perhaps match that vision in the top side. Not sure.
Despite the kill lead here for the University of Wyoming, Pepperdine has been able to match in terms of gold and in fact keep their 1K gold lead, but we'll have to wonder for how long at this point, considering how successful some of these University of Wyoming solo laners have been.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to come down to the next team fight, and if Pepperdine can hold this gold lead and get 1 or 2 item advantages. I mean, we look at the Jin's items, not a completed full item yet, whereas the Caitlyn has a full eye edge and a crit cloak. So
and it's almost done with her cull.
Right, exactly. So definitely advantage in terms of item discrepancy in terms of in favor of Pepperdine here.
Also, Ornn's level 11. Just need a few more levels on that Ornn. And then that IE on that Caitlyn.
When that Molten Edge comes through, that Caitlyn is going to start ripping some heads off for sure.
I have a strong feeling that University of Wyoming are, waiting for bated breath, not wanting that to wind up happening.
Yeah. Now, it looks like they are going to secure this second Rift Herald. Probably want to take it mid lane and open up the map in the mid lane. This makes 3 objectives in favor of UW to the 1 objective for Pepperdine. So again, early game macro play seems to be favoring UW.
Yeah, they've been playing this early game macro exceptionally well, and as people in chat, as well as we pointed out in the draft phase, they had a very, very weak early game composition, but they've been the ones dominating this early game, which definitely does not bode well for Pepperdine, considering that if
it's going to come down to execution and team fights. Here we go. Here's the first big team fight.
Oh, the Leona ultimate and the Ornn ultimate go down. Annie gets the stun with Tibbers, but ultimately it only goes down onto the Leona. And now, University of Wyoming have to run for their lives. Leona E goes down. The kill on the Nautilus goes over to Windchill 400, but that's the only kill for all of those resources spent by Pepperdine.
Yeah, they will get this tower, and perhaps... No, they're just going to back off. The big discrepancy in that fight is a 4v5. The Poppy's in the bot side without teleport, and that's where a lot of UW's gold and advantage is on that Poppy, and she just wasn't there for that fight. So, Ornn ult into Leona ult, get some knockups, get some stuns, chase them down, get a tower, create a little bit more advantage for yourself.
And they're setting up for this Drake.
We called it last game. Barring any major execution error, that might be the fight that swings the game.
We'll have to see. The Poppy could go down here. The ultimate goes down to get the Caitlyn away, but pretty much all of Pepperdine is trying to kill this Poppy right now, but Poppy is able to stall out long enough for her team to come up and back her up. Oh my goodness, the
Lucian
Zac...
on the flank.
Nobody dies.
Nobody dies.
Poppy was so tanky in that fight. I was just watching as her health bar did not move.
Yeah, really. That Lucian needs to pick up some armor shred to be effective against this Poppy, for sure. I think Chad is right. I think the Poppy, at this point in the game, probably can match the Lucian in the side lane with that Sunfire Cape and the armor picked up. Now a Dead Man's completed. This Poppy is going to be very difficult to kill.
Pepperdine does not want this Ocean Soul eventually to go over to the side of University of Wyoming. The ultimate goes down from Nautilus as well as his flash to engage onto Pepperdine over there by the dragon, but the shutdown of the Poppy, the shutdown goes over to the Caitlyn. The Watermelon God gets the pick onto the enemy Jhin. And everyone from Pepperdine is living thus far. Lucian is there. Will he be able to chunk down this Nautilus? He does.
Living by the skin of their teeth in that fight. And once again, we see Pepperdine out-executes in the team fights, despite being at a little bit of a disadvantage in the early game macro.
Pepperdine gets the dragon. Lucian is going super aggressive onto this Annie, trying to get the kill here. Zac engages to try to save his Annie here. Goes down what looks like to the Caitlyn ultimate, but since he has his passive, we'll see who ends up getting the kill here. It looks like it'll end up going over to Windchill. The Jhin ult goes down. Leona is going to take some shots for her team.
Did the fourth shot get canceled? Is that what I saw?
It seems so. I don't think I saw the fourth shot go down.
Curious.
But that was ultimately a great exchange for Pepperdine.
Absolutely, yeah. Very much so an advantage to Pepperdine. They pick up the second Drake. They now have the Drake advantage. They can take away resources in the jungle. Very well played from Pepperdine.
And for University of Wyoming, they do seem to have great macro play and macro knowledge. They are moving where they need to move and doing what they need to do, but it's just these little things when it comes down to these later team fights, particularly the positioning when they are split up. Pepperdine has not been great about moving as a complete unit and not getting split up, but when they are split up, they're overall outperforming University of Wyoming in these split up fights. I wonder if we just saw slightly more focus, slightly better cooperation from University of Wyoming in terms of like who's going to take what and do whatever where, then maybe we'd be able to see them being able to, you know, capitalize on this kind of poor positioning from Pepperdine as well, but they're kind of answering poor positioning with poor positioning here.
I think, yes, absolutely agree with you. I think they need to pick their spots a little bit better, and I think I have not seen thus far a ward near the Pepperdine mid lane outer tower. And so both the team fights we've seen involved Pepperdine coming in from that mid lane, either down into the mid lane or into the blue side jungle below that mid lane. And I think if just a little bit better vision in that mid lane and in the flanking positions of that mid lane from the University of Wyoming would allow them to not get picked out quite as much in those team fights.
Yeah, it's like what we said, the win condition for University of Wyoming in this day is to capitalize on Pepperdine's mistakes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the Annie nearly chunks down the Lucian completely there.
If not for that cleanse, I think Lucian dies there.
Very, very true. I completely agree with you. But something else to note right now too, Ornn is now level 13. He has just one more level until he is able to
start handing out those ornaments.
Not Leo is saying fourth shot missed. You'll hear us respond to that in about 2 minutes. Thank you for the update. Caitlyn almost, not really almost, but gets chunked down a fair bit by Annie, but just kind of waits out the stun and then gets the pick there.
You kind of got to ask yourself, what's the Annie doing that far pushed up when the Poppy's just now?
Oh, Leona ult goes down, gets the double stun onto Worst Nightmare and Taboo Parent. The Ornn ultimate goes down, gets the knockup onto High Lord Bound, and the Leona E comes down. Is able to kill High Lord Bound with her W. It looks like Zach's going to go down to Fantomasia as well, and Windchill 400 gets the pick onto the Nautilus.
I think that's Baron for Pepperdine.
That was a great fight for Pepperdine. Honestly, that double Leona stun, great from Liquid Core JJ.
And
really
this is the second time we've seen a solo laner from UW caught out in the side lane before a key objective. The Volibear died last game before the Dragon fight, which meant Dragon went over to Pepperdine, and in this case, the Annie over-pushes the top side, dies, they lose a fight mid lane because they're down a man, and Pepperdine gets the Baron. So, good early macro play from the University of Wyoming, but in these mid-game situations, this 24-minute-ish area, we're seeing them get caught out by overextending in the side lane and dying right before key objectives.
Poppy might be a little caught out here.
Ults the Gromp back to base for some reason.
Chunks down the Lucian, but getting chunks in return in the form of Lucian's entire ultimate. Will he chase her down? The Zach is there to help follow up. A lot going down here in this fight, including Tibbers, but ultimately it goes in favor of Pepperdine. The Ornn is able to take down the Annie, and Windchill 400 gets Halo Shadow, I believe, in that fight.
You know, the Annie Tibbers, I don't think had the stun up, and I think that's just a missed execution. If that Annie stuns all three people there with the Tibbers instead of just applying damage, I think that fight goes completely differently.
Ornn ultimate going down, engaging onto the side of University of Wyoming. The Leona ult does get Worst Nightmare. He tried to pop the Gargoyle Stone Plate, but ultimately it does not give him too much value. Zach tanks the Caitlyn R.
And once again, Pepperdine winning our mid-game team fights through better team fight execution. And we see that first Ornn item comes through on the
onto the Caitlyn. That is a terrifying Caitlyn right now.
Yeah. She's picked up her last Whisper, so she's got some armor shred as well. She's going to start to hurt. I would not want to step on one of those Yordle snap traps if I were UW.
Yeah, nah. I would rather not.
I would prefer not to.
Uh-oh. Oh no!
From over the wall, the Lucian just burst down the Annie. And this is going from, bad to worse for UW here.
Yeah, they are at a nearly 13K gold deficit here. Not great.
So we gotta ask yourself, where did it go
Leona
wrong?
ult goes down onto the Poppy. Zach tries to go in onto the back line, but ultimately he gets just completely chunked down by this terrifying Caitlyn from Pepperdine. And will we see the disrespect end from Pepperdine again?
I think so. I think they're just gonna end it right
like
here.
It, but honestly, with the cooldown, or with, excuse me, the spawn timers and how many are dead from University of Wyoming, it makes a lot more sense than it did in the previous game to go ahead and end here. I think it's the right call, actually. The Aura ultimate goes down.
Advocating is a little bit.
And of course, Santa Massey will die to the Annie. The Leona goes into the fountain. A little bit of style points there, attempted to be grabbed by Pepperdine in that final fight. And that's it. That's the end of this series against the University of Wyoming. We think B team, someone from University of Wyoming seems to be in the chat. So, you know, GG, University of Wyoming,
yeah.
B team or whoever. Great job. Honestly, those were some pretty good matches. It was just some bad fights at different parts in the game, as well as not being able to capitalize on mistakes, I think, that ultimately cost the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think those both games, save for a handful of getting caught out, mis-executions in team fights, I think the Wyoming team absolutely could have won both those games. And if that's their B team, again, it's a big if, but if that's their B team, their A team is probably pretty scary.
I fully acknowledge that, and I will say, like, I am sure Pepperdine would be quaking if that is their B team and they had to go up against their A team. I don't know if we do in this split or this series. It might be divided sort of differently, but we'll see with how CSL does it if we end up going against that other team. But overall, still very, very good plays coming out from the University of Wyoming here today, and there's a lot for Pepperdine to learn about, specifically regarding team fight positioning in those games. Those will be crucial for VOD review, I think, and even though they were wins, I think that the fights that they did lose, or those fights that, you know, just were a little bit too sloppy for our taste, like, those will be great for Pepperdine to look at for the future when it comes to improving and potentially going against these better schools moving forward.
And I want a big shout out to the Watermelon God. I mean, he's coming in here as a sub player, you know, and performed well. He lost the early game pretty hard in that last game to the Poppy, and yet found ways to be effective, got some big Ornn ultimates, and made an impact on those mid-game team fights despite being, you know, at a deficit. So, you know, props to him for making it count.
Someone got caught by...
A lot of people got caught by Nightbot.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. Maybe I need to look at those Nightbot things. Hopefully you guys did not get too crazy there.
Scott Toxic. Yeah, can confirm.
Wow. Oh, my goodness, guys. But anyway, this is a PG-13 language stream only. How dare you? But overall, very, very good job to the University of Wyoming. Lots of stuff to learn from both teams from those games. And I know that there will be, you know, a lot to learn going forward, and just great game for everybody all around. So I see it looks like some people are joining. I see Taboo Parrot. Great job in that game. I loved seeing your Zach play as well. So to everybody coming in, thank you very much. Great games. And if you want to go back and look at the VOD, we'll be uploading it to our YouTube channel, and it will also be available here on Twitch if you want to see the game and hear a little bit of our commentary on it. We were trying to incorporate what the chat was saying as well. So overall, thank you very much. Make sure to follow us on our social media channels at Pep Esports, and tune back in next week. Our CLOL game, which will normally be on Saturdays at noon, will be rescheduled. We don't know exactly when yet, but it'll be rescheduled because we'll be participating in the IMT University Showdown Immortals ARAM tournament. next Saturday, which will
Oh
be...
boy, I'm excited for that.
It'll be on the Immortals Twitch channel, and our player, Winchill400, will be playing alongside one of the Immortals pro players in that ARAM 2v2 tournament. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out on their Twitch channel next weekend, next Saturday. Don't know exactly when it starts, but you can check. It'll be all over social media and everything. So GG, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Anything you would like to say, Coddy, before we say goodbye to all the nice people?
No, just thank you, everybody, for tuning in. That was a lot of fun, really good games, and I'm looking forward to next time.
Yeah, GG, University of Wyoming. We hope to see y'all again and have a...
Go Pokes!
Definitely. Have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon, evening, whatever it is in your time zone. And we'll see you next week. All
See
right,
ya.
bye-bye.